I never saw a long-haired man for the first 13 years of my life. I had run my finances to the bone, and had been anticipating this moment for a period of time. It's stone cold truth. When you're a small business owner, you're waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning thinking about inventory.
Welcome back to Small Business Never Sleeps. My name is John Slusser, and this is Nathan Maude, and we're the co-founders of the Indiana Small Business Association and your host of Small Business Never Sleeps.
Yes, thank you for tuning in. Today is episode number 6, and we couldn't be more excited to be here. Small Business Never Sleeps is geared specifically for that small business owner, as well as those who represent the small business industry.
And in today's episode, we have a very special guest, Jen Ramo, owner and professional EOS implementer of Amplify Consulting, an EOS company built to help a small business thrive through maximizing small business efficiency.
Yeah, Jen, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, fellas.
Sweet. Well, let's just dive right in then. Well, Jen, I've had the pleasure of knowing you for the past few years, and I've only experienced great things. So to kick things off, let our audience know who you are.
Well, I'm Jen Ramo. I'm a professional EOS implementer. I've been doing this for a couple of years now. Made my escape from corporate America to become a small business owner, and I really couldn't be happier about it.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm excited to learn more about where you're from, your story, and kind of your background.
Yeah, well, I currently live in a little town outside of Greenfield, Indiana, Maxwell. It's a population of a couple of hundred. I live in a big farmhouse on some acres with my mom and 2 big dogs.
Awesome.
That's awesome. So, okay, let me share one thing about you that I've learned. You will paint guitars. Is that right?
Yeah. I'm an artist also. I have a studio out in one of my barns, and I'll take functional items like a guitar, ukulele in this case, chairs, step stools, tables, and cover them in art and give them away as gifts typically.
That's awesome. Okay. So, well, you haven't always lived in Maxwell. So give us a little story of how you got to Maxwell.
Yeah, it's a long and windy road, guys.
Well, we're buckled in and ready to go.
Yeah, so my dad was career Navy, so my family business was war. I spent all of my time growing up hearing about war, learning about how to fight wars, what it took to win wars, and that was our dinner table conversation. We did that through, we were in Virginia, Maryland, San Diego, Hawaii for a good portion of the time, which was very awesome.
Absolutely.
Exactly as awesome as you would think it was. I had a ocean view at my elementary school.
Wow.
And then ended up in Northern California. And that's where my dad retired. We thought we were going to go back to San Diego. I was looking forward to taking up surfing lessons again and hanging out with all my friends down there. And we came to the Midwest on a family reunion, and my family and my mom and dad were driving around one day and saw a house they liked in Bloomington, and they bought it. So I was really disappointed.
Yeah.
I'd never lived away from the ocean in my life.
Yeah.
And so, but quickly I came to understand what Indiana was all about. And it's about people who value their relationships with other people. You know, we don't have oceans, we don't have mountains, we don't have beautiful scenery unless you think corn is beautiful, which I do. But we do have each other. And I think that's why people live here, is that we live a little closer to our relationships in Indiana.
Yeah. And with all of the moving around, Hawaii being one of the spots that you love so much, or even California for that matter, it's always been military-based living, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up, I never saw a long-haired man for the first 13 years of my life. It was always about the military life for me. And quickly, though, realized that my personality is not a great fit for the military. I don't follow orders very well. And so I came to entrepreneurship early. So I started my first business when I was 13. It was a cake decorating business. And by the time I was 24, I had failed 4 businesses and realized that I just didn't know enough. Just did not know enough. I didn't realize how hard it would be to be a small business owner. So I started in corporate America at that point and really went on a very specific journey to learn in each area of an organization, sales, marketing, operations, and finance, how to make it work. And end up moving my way up to a C-level in marketing, operations, and sales. And my last corporate gig, I was the COO of a marketing company. Had taken a trip to Hawaii, where my brother lives, to celebrate our birthdays. We're a day apart. And I was standing out there on my last day looking at the horizon, and I literally felt this switch in my head click. And I knew that it was time. I was ready. I knew what I needed to know, and I needed to get to it. So I came back home and tendered my resignation and started my own business.
Wow. That's just such an amazing story. I think, the majority of of employees or staff. Our goal is to climb that ladder and to find ourselves in that C-level position. And you did it.
Yeah.
But then you decided, hey, this isn't for me. I need to do something else. So I can only imagine that took a lot of thinking, or maybe it did. I guess I don't know. You can tell us, was it just snap your finger, I'm going to come back and do my thing? Or had you already been thinking about maybe what you would do, what kind of business you would start, et cetera?
No, I'm very risk tolerant. So I basically heard that click, submitted my resignation, and had no idea what I was going to do, what kind of business I was going to create. But I knew that I wanted to be my own boss at that point and forever forward. And so I began doing some consulting work. I've been in all of those different areas. So I have some skills at streamlining processes, creating efficiencies in those areas. And it just wasn't very fulfilling. There was no real relationship. It was more transactional. And during that time, I had several people keep encouraging me to become an EOS implementer, including a mutual friend, Ryan Michalowski. Yep. And Ryan just told me I was being dumb. And I agreed with him. So I started looking into it, and it became very obvious to me that it was exactly what I was meant to be doing at the culmination of my career journey, was to help other entrepreneurs succeed. I have such a respect for it. Obviously, I know how hard it is. And I really want to help use my abilities to help other entrepreneurs win.
Yeah, I think that's incredible that you have that sort of passion. But for those that don't know, what is EOS?
Yeah, thank you. It's the Entrepreneurial Operating System. It's made famous in a book called Traction by Gino Wickman. And it's really a way to strengthen the 6 key components of your business and achieve vision, traction, and healthy. That's what we call it. So vision from the standpoint that everybody in your organization is on the same page with where you're going, how you're going to get there. Traction from the standpoint that you can look around your business and see people executing towards that vision with discipline and accountability. And healthy from the standpoint that we really fail often in corporate America at open and honesty, being open and honest. And so healthy leadership teams need to be open and honest in order to be able to trust each other, to be able to tell the hard truths and have the hard conversations. And so EOS is a system and a structure for achieving those things.
Yeah. So it made you get into EOS. You mind just sharing with us more about Amplify and kind of how long you guys have been around?
Yeah. So I left my corporate job in 2018 and did consulting work for about a year before I decided to join the EOS organization. So I'm a franchisee of EOS. And I started that in September of 2019. Everything was going perfectly. It was like chalk, just adding client after client after client. And, I had really run my financial reserves down to the bone. And so March was supposed to be this incredible payday for me. And that did not happen. I don't know. Something big happened in the world. And so every one of those clients went away. Every one of them. And I didn't work again for 5 months. And so that period of time was just, obviously I was pretty disappointed for a couple of days at not having that payoff happen. And then I just realized that I had to be patient, that generally speaking, things tend to work out, and that I needed to be open and receptive to whatever opportunities were going to come my way. But in the meantime, I needed to be busy with my hands and with my mind to keep busy working. So I did a lot of work on my farm, remodeled my kitchen, did a lot of home improvement projects, much like everybody else did. And then in September, things started coming back, and now I'm up to 15 clients.
Wow, that's an incredible story.
So has being a business owner changed your perspective on business? And if so, how or why?
Oh, absolutely. It's just so much harder than anybody, who doesn't run a business knows. And I think it's hard both tactically, but it's also hard psychologically because the buck stops with you, and you're the one who's expected to have all of the answers all the time, even if you don't. And even if you don't, you have to make a decision. And so that brings its own stress along with, the livelihoods of the people that work for you, your own livelihood. All of those things can be very difficult to bear at times. And so it's really important to get into a community where you can share that.
Right.
And I know you mentioned fulfillment compared to maybe the corporate world or being that business owner. Are you more fulfilled working for yourself now? Or
I've never had so much fun in my life. I really haven't. No, I've never had so much fun in my life. It's been amazing. It's a blast. I think a lot of it has to do with having my own agency,
Mm-hmm.
having my, like, in terms of a sense of my ability to make decisions for myself.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I mean by agency. And being able to use my talents and my experience and to just better the world and to
Mhm.
better people who are facing that psychological and tactical burden of running a business. It's a very gratifying work that I do. And, I'm pretty direct, very, very direct
Yes,
person.
yes, you are.
And that's not always been a positive in corporate America.
Mhm.
And so now I can just let her rip, and I get to be exactly who I am every single day, and it's a real blessing.
That's incredible. And anytime I have a conversation with you, I can sense right off the get go that you're happy and
Yeah.
you're fulfilled and you love what you do. But I have to imagine that things probably haven't always been easy. Are there any struggles that come to mind that you've had to overcome?
Yeah, that moment when all those sessions went away in March of last year was a real blow, because like I said, I had run my finances to the bone, and had been anticipating this moment for a period of time, and it just didn't happen, and I was really, really devastated about it for a day.
Mhm.
And then I recognized that the longer I stayed devastated and didn't turn to gratitude and thankfulness, that I was going to stay in that spot for
Mhm.
longer. And so I shook it off, and it's really about mindset. It's about keeping your priorities where they should be, which in this case, my priority was to keep my business alive. And so I turned my entire will and effort towards that end.
Absolutely. And, I'm a big mindset guy, and I know trying to possess that kind of mindset to keep things moving forward when you run into those struggles or difficulty is incredibly hard, right? And you can't just snap your finger and decide, hey, I'm going to be patient. Everything's going to be fine. It takes years and years of developing a mindset to be just tough. So in your world, what's mental toughness look like? When you run into that struggle, how do you maintain the fulfillment and the happiness that you had going into that struggle?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think a lot of it has to do with staying focused on your goals. And if you have a very clear vision about where you're going, and in EOS's case, we plan out to 10 years. If you have a very clear vision of where you're going, and it's a vision that's exciting to you and is appealing to you, then staying laser focused on that, keeping that as your North Pole, is going to be always your best case scenario. Getting distracted, getting sort of frantic. Activity isn't the same thing as productivity.
Mhm.
And so turning my attention to being productive, I think, is the most important part of that.
Yeah, that's incredible. Well, right here on Small Business Never Sleeps, we like to play a little game.
Yeah, what?
And here's the little game. You have to give us one success story that keeps you moving. And you have to give us, when you've already kind of talked about a struggle, but give us a different one. One, obstacle or failure that's also kept you moving. We always, are under the suggestion that, when we find success, we dip our toes into success. We want to continue that feeling. We want to continue feeling that way. But also there's some failures or some struggles or some obstacles that we run into where we also have to overcome to get back to that feeling of happiness. So give us one success story that really stands out, and give us one obstacle or failure where you just found yourself continue to move through it.
Well, I'll give you the obstacle first. So when I was 32, so 18 years ago, I was diagnosed with a giant tumor on my liver. It was almost my entire liver. And they went in surgically to remove it, which is amazing. The liver is a regenerator. I didn't know that before then, but I do now. It grows back. And so when they did that, they actually caused me to have pancreatitis.
Wow.
And so for 45 days, I was in the hospital. At my levels, 8 out of 10 die. And it was a really difficult time for everybody who loves me. It was a difficult time for me. I was very in a lot of pain and suffering, and I just had this weird moment when I wanted to give up, where I don't know if it was divine intervention or if it was the universe or what it was, but it was 2 o'clock in the morning. I was in desperate shape, and it just sort of came over me, and I felt loved. In that moment, I felt loved, and that gave me sort of the strength the next day to get a doctor's attention, enough for him to actually diagnose what was really going on with me. And so that guy saved my life that day. And, but it wasn't over yet. It was 6 months of not eating or drinking anything. I got fed through a tube in my arm for 6 months.
Wow.
And when you can't eat or drink water or put gum in your mouth or anything like that for 6 months, things get really real. And what I realized was that, and during that whole process, what I realized was that my relationships were way more important than title, than money, than status, all of those things. It just became crystal clear to me that I needed to pour into my relationships and that they would pour back into me as they did while they were trying to save my life. Right. And so that lesson in and of itself has changed me in profound ways. I am not the same person I was back then. I was not as nice of a person as I am. I wasn't as happy. The person that you see today, I wasn't that person. And that experience really changed me. And I really think that the way that we grow as humans, we're kind of slow. We grow through pain. And that painful moment really reset the whole arc of my life.
Wow. I can just absolutely guarantee that lends to your mental toughness.
Yeah.
And any obstacle that you're going to run into in business. I mean, that's an incredible story. And kudos to you for overcoming and staying strong through that time.
I had a community. I had a huge community that really helped me. And you know, I just believed that it would work out, and it did.
Yeah. And, you know, I don't know if that's your obstacle story or your success story. Because it sounds like a success story to me.
Maybe it's a little bit of both, I guess.
2 for 1.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, give us a success story in business.
Oh gosh, I'm in the middle of one right now, actually. And my business is really is scaling primarily because I'm running on EOS and have been since my brother became my business partner in February. And that structure and the system of creating process and the discipline and accountability that the system brings has made all the difference in the world. And we're scaling. We're already 4 times what we had last year, which admittedly was a weird year, but you know, we're only into June. So I think that, I really believe that EOS is propelling me into the place that I need to be. It's a proven system. It works.
It's awesome.
It's awesome. And I know you mentioned, you got to stay locked in and focus on your goals and your visions. So how would you define that, or how would you define commitment?
Well, commitment is also accountability, right? And that's one of the beautiful things about EOS. Not a strength of mine, a personal strength is not personal accountability. So having a system that forces accountability is critical. And so in EOS, we have a tool that we keep our vision and our sort of near-term and long-term plans on. It's called the Vision Traction Organizer. But then we also run our meetings in a specific way that creates absolute transparency. So if I don't get the things done that I promised to do, everybody's going to know about it. There's no hiding. And so I don't want to disappoint people. I don't want to let people down. So that creates accountability for me where it didn't exist in myself. So the structure actually creates that. And accountability, I think, is all about commitment. It's about commitment to a unified goal. It's a commitment to each other, a commitment to yourself, really.
Absolutely. Well, Jen, not only are you the owner of Amplify, but you're also a partner here on ISBA that agrees small business never sleeps. So what does that phrase mean to you, and how does it relate?
I mean, it's the absolute truth. It's stone cold truth. When you're a small business owner, you're waking up at 2:00 in the morning thinking about inventory or employee issues or, financing, all of those things. Just that it never stops. It's a 24-hour job. And I think that for small business owners, what is critically important is creating a community around you of trusted advisors. So we have at Amplify, we have a trusted financial advisor, we have a trusted legal advisor, we have a trusted IT provider, and so getting that team to help extend what is usually a small operation in terms of people, extend your reach by using outside resources, but they must be people that you trust.
Absolutely.
And that are totally aligned with your vision.
So you've been to the big corporate world, own your own small businesses, currently help small businesses. What is it about small business that you're passionate about?
It's the hustle.
Yeah.
I mean, I just absolutely love the hustle. Yep. It never stops, and there's so much purpose that goes along with that hustle. It's not activity for the sake of activity. It is purposeful hustle. And I really love that.
And that's so inspirational to me. And that's one of the reasons that Nathan and I can relate on why we love small business as well, is because they never stop the hustle. They always get after it. And where the phrase small business never sleeps comes from, and you kind of already mentioned it, is it's a salute to that small business owner who grinds 24/7, 365. They never get a break. You mentioned, you're responsible for others' livelihood.
Yep.
You're responsible for the success of your business and for all those aspirations and the goals that you have in mind and the future vision. There's just not a chance to take a nap. You just can't.
No.
Small business never sleeps. You keep it grinding, and the hustle is definitely contagious for sure.
So Jen, you're a partner of ISBA. You partner with us. Out of all the networking and associations and things out there, what kind of led you to ISBA, or why?
Well, it's kind of along the lines of what I just said about a team of trusted advisors. I think that's what ISBA provides to small business owners, is a team of people who work often together. So they work well together. The people that trust one another. So there's not a lot of conflict, and we provide services that the small business owner needs. And so I just found that ISBA is very much aligned with my personal philosophy on how business should be done.
Yeah, that's great. Well, as we come to a close here, give our small business owners or our aspiring entrepreneurs just one piece of advice that they can hang on to as they continue the hustle and the grind.
Gosh, there's so many lessons I've learned. Oh
okay,
my
you know
gosh.
what? Fair enough. If you have more than one, I'm sure that they would love to hear.
I've made a lot of mistakes, guys. I think the biggest thing that I would say is to keep learning, reading, listening to podcasts, consuming information that opens your point of view and changes the way that you look at the world. I read a lot. I'm fortunate to be, I guess, a speed reader. I read a book a day and have since I was around 3 or 4 years old. And so being a great reader has been the single greatest advantage of my life in terms of my ability to process information, absorb information, and to stay open to emerging trends, changing technology, and changing ways of doing business, because business today is not the same way it was 20 years ago. And I assume in 20 years, it'll be different again. So keep reading, keep learning.
Are there any books that stand out that you would recommend?
Oh gosh. Yeah, tons.
Probably Traction.
Traction would be probably the first one I would recommend. Creativity Inc. is a great one also. If you want a more fun, entertaining read, Matthew McConaughey's Green Lights is a great book. I'm also right now, nobody wants to read this but me probably. I'm reading The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich, which is not interesting. I wouldn't recommend it. It's very dry. But those are some of my recent favorites.
What about some podcasts?
Well, of course, this one. I love Malcolm Gladwell's Revisionist History. That's a great one. I just read his book, The Bomber Mafia. That's a great one. I'm also admittedly a crime junkie, so I listen to a lot of murder podcasts. Probably people don't want to listen to those, but Armchair Expert's a good one. I think those are probably a couple of, there's a Lead Now podcast by EOS that's also very good.
Sweet. Hey, a lot of times we're looked at as professionals or experts in our industry, but I know, and Nathan knows, you're a really, really, really fun person. So what's the one or two things people need to know about you that drives that fun bone you have?
Yeah, I would say if I'm an adventurer, so most of my hobbies are pretty risk involved. So I throw axes, I shoot targets. I'm a vegetarian, so I don't shoot animals. I scuba dive, I skydive. I like to drive my side-by-side really fast. So I'm a bit of a thrasher. I like to get out there and I love being out in the country. So I'm much happier when the sky is open and I have friends around the campfire.
So is it safe to say you're a thrill seeker?
I am a thrill seeker. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
One day, I'll tell you a quick story. One single day, I jumped out of an airplane, drove a monster rally truck through a desert course, and then blew up a taxi with a Barrett 50 caliber gun. That day,
I want to be on that vacation.
That day was probably the most adrenaline-filled day I've ever had in my life, and I was actually a little sick from it. That might have been too much.
Wow.
Maybe should have cut one of those activities out, but that was a big day.
That's incredible. Jen, thank you for joining us today on our Small Business Never Sleeps podcast. I enjoy getting to know you better and gathering a clear understanding of you, your story, and how it can help a small business owner thrive.
Yeah, really appreciate all the great detail you provided us today and how we can better position you as a resource for that small business owner here in the great state of Indiana. So thank you again for joining us. And any last words?
Oh, it's been a ball. My pleasure, you guys. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And where can our viewers find you?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn under Jennifer Ramo. And also my website is amplifytoday.net.
Awesome. And you'll also be able to reach her on the Indiana Small Business Association website, all her information and emails there as well. So great. Thank you, Jen. This is the Small Business Never Sleeps podcast. You can find us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and all your other favorite podcast platforms like Spotify, iTunes, Google, and Stitcher.
And next time, Nathan and I will spend some time walking through the journey of a small business owner's path towards success. But guys, don't forget to keep on grinding because small business never sleeps.